Hey everyone, it's just Chill Chats back again doing another video on a kind of a different topic this time. So today we'll be discussing Optus, which is a major telecommunications company that's recently suffered a cyber attack. So what that entails is if you want to switch to that Reddit tab. So what this cyber attack entailed was about 11.2 million customers of Optus have had their data leaked, including emails, date of births, first and last names, mobile numbers, ID numbers such as driver's license and passport numbers, subscriptions if available, and much more. So, imagine if you want to discuss, I guess, what the implications of that would be.
Yeah, so I reckon this is a major data breach which has very negative implications if true. Now, having this much data leaked to someone could be very detrimental because when you think about everything that's required in terms of opening up credit card accounts or opening up anything to do with banks or any private sort of information, it requires all these identification points, really. So in Australia, you need about 100 points to open up, for example, a credit card. Now, and these points are made up of these identifications, whether it's your credit card, whether it's your driver's license, your passport numbers, your date of birth, all that sort of thing. Now, if someone gets a hold of this information, they can open up a credit card in your name. And if you can imagine, that's actually going to be pretty bad for approximately 11 million people. So there's quite a bit of risk involved in this situation right now.
And not only that, but it also increases the legitimacy of some scams. For example, if you were to get an email from let's just say, you know it's a scam. They come in, there's not much information in there. You can tell it's a scam just by the title of the email and the way it's written. But if you got an email that says your first last name, that has your passport number, and has your driver's license in that email, and it sends you a link saying click this link to pay a fee. If it comes from, let's say, it puts a facade on it, says it's from the Australian Taxation Office or so on. It'd be much harder for you to turn away and not click that link, which that link may have some sort of software on it that automatically downloads into your computer and installs a virus and so on. So it's increasing the legitimacy of any sort of attack afterwards. Because what will happen now is this information that's just been stolen will now be sold on the dark web to people that are interested in such information or specific scams.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can happen with this information, and so I think
Yeah.
Optus is scrambling right now, trying to find out different solutions. Now, this Reddit post here, we've got, whether it's true or not, a online letter has been published addressing directly to Optus, basically a ransom letter, telling them, as you can see here, if you are reading, price for us not to sell this data is $1 million USD. We will give you 1 week to decide. Now,
Yeah, so this is obviously some sort of, it's not a reputable source. So whether or not this is actually true and whether or not they're making a threat directly to Optus or threatening them to release the information, we don't know, but it is interesting nonetheless. And I wouldn't be surprised that they would do this on top of selling the data already in the background on the dark web, because it's
now,
like a why not?
yeah. Now, what's your thoughts on this? So, like, if you are in the position of Optus, how can you trust someone like this? First of all, how can you prove that they have got all the information? And secondly, how can you trust that they will not release it after you pay them the $1 million? I think Optus are in a lose-lose situation here right now, and I don't know what they can do at this point.
Well, that's exactly right. Well, Optus, what they've released a statement already. Their CEO has released a statement saying that, their only mechanism of defense here is to provide their customers with notice to be more vigilant. So they're not going to go after these people because it's too late. I mean, they probably will go after them behind the scenes, but it's going to be very difficult to actually capture these people. So all they can do now is make as many people aware of the situation, change their passwords, get two-factor verification organized, be very wary of any emails that come in that look legitimate. Like if an email comes in all of a sudden that you weren't expecting from a government body with your name, with all this legitimate information and you weren't expecting it, then it's probably worth, either ignoring it or reporting that email. You might want to also go to the bank to see if any of your details have been tried to be amended, or anyone's tried to access any of your accounts. So what can Optus do about it now? Nothing really. If they decide to even pay this ransom, it's almost a waste.
Yeah,
I can
like
guarantee you, these people have already they've already put this information out there. It's gone.
yeah,
It's
it's
not.
it's it's a very hard situation to be in, and we're not trying to play detective or anything. But if you can read this actual image here that we found online, from based on the English, it's not, or the grammar, it's not perfect. So we're assuming that the hackers or the people that actually got this information aren't in Australia right now. You can read the language here. It says Optus, if you're reading, price for us not to sale data. So the English is not very full on. We're assuming that these guys are foreign hackers, and And if you're actually questioning how, well, even if Optus wanted to accept this $1 million offer, how can they actually do it? It's not like what you see in the movies where you meet up and give them a suitcase worth like $1 million in cash. That's not how it works. What they've requested on the bottom here, as you can see, is all payment will be in Monero. So for those that don't know, Monero is a cryptocurrency, which is a private cryptocurrency, which basically hides your data. So any transactions can be hidden and you can't be tracked back to, which is like a whole nother issue in of itself. So it highlights an issue and issues with cryptocurrencies, and it brings bad light towards it. I think
online cash, and therefore if it's something is untraceable and only the buyer and seller are aware of the transaction, and even then the buyer and seller don't actually have information on each other, it's untraceable online transactions that will obviously be used for criminal activity such as this.
And I believe this is how cryptocurrencies initially first started in the black market. So I think Bitcoin was used for this sort of illegal trade, purchasing goods online. And so Monero is just, if you can think of another type of cryptocurrency which is used for this sort of illegal transactions. And so I guess that's another whole topic of itself. And if we bring up the note over here, sorry.
Go to that second article real quick as well, sorry, before this one.
Oh, is it?
The one in the second tab. So if you scroll down here, it also says the CEO has obviously made an emotional apology. But what's interesting here, if you read in that second paragraph that we see here, it says, now it has been revealed that Optus knew about the breach on Wednesday, though didn't release an official statement until Thursday afternoon after the Australian, which is a news agency
it's a news agency. Yeah.
Had already published the article about the cyber attack. So it's interesting to think that they've almost left it 24 hours without actually even notifying the public that their information has been out there. And they've only decided to really be apologetic once they were exposed by a reputable news article company. So,
and that's, like, in my opinion, that's so bad on behalf of Optus for them to hide this information about the breach. What was it, like 48 hours or 24 hours after it's actually
who knows how long it would have been if they weren't exposed? They could have potentially kept this information. Maybe you wouldn't have even known. So this is what's scary about it, is if they were never exposed, would have they even said anything, and would have they just left it to their customers to fend for themselves?
And with this sort of sorry, I was just going to say, with this sort of thing, every single second counts, and you want, if as soon as you find out that your information might be leaked, you want to go out and quickly start changing your emails, you want to start changing your passwords. You need to just make sure everything is safe. But for them to just hold that information for 24 hours, who knows what could have happened within 24 hours. So honestly, Optus are already onto a bad start.
Yeah, they're already onto a bad start. You might be surprised to try log into your some sort of app that you have on your phone that you're already logged out. You never know. Like these, like we said before, these pieces that were stolen, they're things that are used to do identification verification. So someone could have used this information already to change some of your apps, some of your passwords, some of your usernames, some of your accounts with your banks.
And who knows? They could have opened up a credit card under your name with all this information.
Exactly.
And at this point, anyone could be losing lots and lots of money.
Your credit history might just suddenly rapidly decline. You'd be thinking, "What's going on here?" And this could all happen very quickly. It depends how fast these people want to move.
And
she described it here as a very sophisticated attack. So these people know what they're doing and they know how to optimize the situation they're in.
Yeah, we're not entirely sure of how they got the information, but all we know is that they did actually get the information. We're not hackers ourselves, so we wouldn't know. But for them to actually breach into Optus, which is, like we said, one of Australia's biggest telecommunications companies, they would have been, like she said, sophisticated people. Now, on to the next topic of discussion. So, I guess what can Optus do from here? What are the implications, and what sort of solutions can they provide? So this was compared to the Sony breach that was back in 2015, if you guys remember. And it says here, when Sony was hacked in 2015, it was forced by the United States judge to pay employers affected by the data breach a total of $10,000 each to cover the cost of identity theft. Now, if we consider that and use this information as an example, we have 11.5 million people who have had their data breached. If we were to consider $10,000, that's $11.5 billion just gone away. So that would completely shut down Optus. So that's probably not a viable solution.
See, that was the case for more so. Make this full screen just for now.
Yeah, sure.
First. So that was most of the case for Optus employees. So they were forfeited, I guess, $10,000 to each employee for
Sorry, you mean Sony?
Sony, sorry, yeah. So What's interesting as well is if you scroll down there, so another infamous breach was the loss of data by a credit monitoring company called Equifax in 2017. It lost the customer details of 147.9 million Americans, and 15.2 million British citizens, and about 19,000 Canadians. So it says here that a settlement which received approval in February 22 resulted in each of the customers being awarded a 1-year, $125 subscription to Equifax. So that's probably something more so that Optus will go down. But if you think about that, $125 times 157 million plus 15 plus 19,000, each one of those customers got affected. So what would that work out to be? Just to quickly work it out.
We're looking at roughly, I think, what, $20 billion? Well, obviously the Optus breach isn't that big. It's only 11.5 million people. And if we were to have some sort of the similar situation with the $125 subscription to Equifax, it would be costly. It'd be, what are we talking about? It would be close to, geez, my math is off. What's 125 by 11 million?
Two engineers. 1.4 billion.
Yeah, so quite a big sum of money. Regardless, Optus would suffer from this. And so it'll be.
And they're not, yeah. And what's the net worth of Optus? Do we know?
We can Google it.
Net worth, just to see how much of an impact this would have, I guess, on their.
Yeah, so they got a revenue of $9 billion. That's back in 2013. So it would definitely have a big impact on them.
Not only this, but it'll have a secondary impact of losing customers, because naturally speaking, most customers now that are with Optus are going to look to opt for their competitors.
Oh, so without a doubt, yeah.
There's the initial compensation for what the damage, and then there's also the repercussions that you get for, I guess, not providing a safe service for your customers. So the implications are massive for them. Go to that next image, sorry, Mazen, that we had about what steps I think Optus is planning on.
Was it this one?
No, there was a second image that I sent on Discord.
I don't have that up at the moment.
That one there. So it seems here, that was go back to the first image of that one. That's the second image. So if you make this full screen, so where does it discuss here? According to Healthcare Act, the penalty for allowing. So there's just a few examples here. So options on the table. So these solutions are currently being considered by Optus. So it was not clear on Friday whether it would be to extend to all customers or those who's only had their driver's license and passport stolen. So if Optus, let me just open it up on just a sec. Just one sec. If Optus decides to be generous and offer every customer lost of data a 1-year subscription, it would cost $120 for each customer, which would cost about approximately $1 billion for them.
Yeah.
And what's interesting as well is because according to the Healthcare Identifiers Act in 2010, the penalty for allowing a person's healthcare records to be stolen is 50 penalty points. According to the Australian Securities and Investments Commissions, each penalty point under federal government legislation is $222 from July 1st. So each point. So it depends how much points a passport and a driver's license is considered to be. But
so we're looking well beyond the $1 billion. So this is like a fee based on those digits alone. We're looking at least $10 billion fine. That's what we're talking about. 50 points, $200 per point. So
it's going to be quite difficult.
It looks like the implications of this will be quite huge.
Yeah.
And just on that, it feels like Optus providing people with a 1-year subscription honestly seems like a band-aid solution. Like if I was an Optus customer, I would be like, what is this? This is not enough. I wouldn't even dare to go back to Optus at this point.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll find out what happens soon. This is just the latest news, and we'll see if anything comes out of this.